So, on to the fall season of exhibitions. Some of you have already seen the show, some of you haven't, but we're just so thrilled about this group of artists and these shows. So we'll have Liz Hernandez did our fabulous, wonderful, beautiful new mural. Liz is right here, if you haven't met her yet. Liz is visiting us from the Bay Area, and we're so happy she could be here today. Summer Al-Samari, sitting next to Liz, is in our project room. This is Summer's first institutional solo exhibition, so that's very, very exciting. And maybe for Liz too. Can we call it a solo show? I'm gonna call it a solo show. Yes, it is. And then of course we have Sandra Vásquez de la Horra, who's in our main galleries with a 40-year retrospective of her absolutely extraordinary works on paper. You're going to hear a lot about her work, so I don't need to talk about it now, but I just want to introduce Raphael Fonseca, who is the curator of Sandra's show and the curator of Latin American art at the Denver Art Museum, from where the show is traveling. And we're so pleased to have Rafa here. Sandra and Rafa have been here for about 2 weeks, so they feel like they're part of the staff at this point, and it's going to be a little jarring to have them not here next week. I just want to acknowledge all of our board members and our patrons at all levels who support the work that we do. We really can't do it without you. Support can come in the form of just showing up for the things that we do, and we appreciate that. And then if you're able to financially support, then wonderful, but we welcome support of all kinds. Emotional support is also welcome. And I just want to acknowledge our staff. We have a really special staff here at ICLA. Many of you know that. Really, every staff member is participating and supporting when we do an event like an open house, and throughout everything we do. We're a pretty tight and mighty team. So I want to acknowledge all of them, but I want to make special shout outs to Amanda Sroka, our senior curator, Amelia Schaefer del Valle, where is she? Amelia. And Oscar Hisa, our director of learning and engagement. And Alberto too, learning and engagement. There are a lot of programs coming up, so stay tuned for many things. Is Peter Gould here? Okay, I'm not going to acknowledge him if he's not here. No, but I'm kidding. Peter is head of our exhibition design and installation crew, and he is wonderful, and he designed all of Sandra's furniture and helped Amanda and Rafa with the layout of this beautiful exhibition, and he is a key part of the team, of course, but I also want to acknowledge all art handlers. They are their own species, and they are extremely important to the work that we do, and they often do the hidden work. So it's important to call out that work and to acknowledge what they do for us. So one last note, which is just that on Wednesday, October 22nd, we have a walkthrough of Summer's work with Amanda and Amelia. So please come back and see that. And onward with the show.
Thank you so much, Anne. You know, what we all do here wouldn't be possible without Anne Algood, our director. So special shout out to Anne, who also, I mean, you know, is an incredible collaborator curatorially for me, I know, and Amelia, and a thought partner. So thank you so much, because this season is possible because of you and your support too. And one additional thanks, because I know she's here, Courtney Brown, our registrar. Yes, Courtney. There are almost 200 works in Sandra's show, and as a registrar, having to condition report all of them is no small feat. So thank you so much, Courtney. We're so happy to have you as part of the ICLA team. One thing just to say before, I'll say a couple things before we start talking, so bear with me a little bit. And for those who were here earlier, we might repeat some things, but something that's so special to me about these seasons is this doesn't always happen, but it has been more recently, of how the shows connect to one another. And I think with Liz's mural, Summer's show in the project room, and Sandra's show in the main galleries, there is this incredible synergy across the three projects. whether it's through the ways in which these artists are engaging with storytelling, thinking about land, thinking about place, and thinking especially about kind of, and reflecting on experiences of migration and immigration, whether by force or by choice, and the network of community that comes out of that, but also experiences of isolation and dislocation that can come from that. And I think, Liz, as you shared, and as your work speaks to so much of those contradictions that we hold as people in a really beautiful way, and the power of imagination amidst different experiences that we're going through. And I think especially, while these three artists are speaking about three different contexts and come to us from three different contexts here, there's something really powerful about these shows, especially in the moment that we find ourselves in as a country. And so I am so grateful, because it's such an affirmation of the power of art and the voice of artists and the importance of them. Uncensored in all the ways. So, and I think all three shows also speak to the curatorial vision for ICLA. We have such a deep commitment to local artists and to Los Angeles as a city, the place that we call home. But it's also really important to kind of position what's happening here within national and global dialogues. And I think this season really allows us to do that in beautiful ways. So we're going to chat here, Raphael, Sandra, and I, about Sandra's work. So hopefully some of you have had the chance to go in and see it. If not, you have 3 hours after this to do that. Anne offered some introductions. I'm so grateful to the extraordinary curator, Raphael Fonseca, who joins us from the Denver Art Museum, and to you, Sandra. Your work is so beautiful and so powerful, and it's been such a gift to work with you, to have you here at ICLA, and to get to work on this show together and as true collaborators in the process. This for you, Sandra, is your first U.S. Solo exhibition at this scale. This traveling show represents that, and kind of charts 4 decades of work from 1986 to 2025, which is really incredible. And one of the things that we talk about in terms of the walkthrough and the kind of idea of the show itself is that it's not installed chronologically, and it wasn't in Denver, it wasn't in any of every show has had its own kind of manifestation, but there's something that's really, I think, important about that, in that it allows for some of the themes and subjects and ideas that ground the work to come out, and to see this kind of ricochet across time of the ways in which you've kind of returned to certain things over and over again. And that hopefully comes out in the show as well. But I wanted to start us off by talking a little bit about the genesis story of the show, Rafa, which I know you shared about in the galleries, but for everybody that's here, to talk about what first drew you to Sandra's work, and then the idea of doing this exhibition.
Hello. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here with us on this Saturday. As you realize already, I talk very fast sometimes, especially when I'm very anxious or in front of this huge group of people here. Be patient with me. If I say too fast, throw me stone or something, and then I'll try to pull the brakes and return to the beginning. Cell phone, you can throw whatever you want. Again, thanks a lot to all staff involved here at the ICLA. They were really amazing 2 weeks of installing. It was also very fun. So we're very thankful for the whole experience. Regarding the genesis of the exhibition, I was, trying to remember here, besides the things that I said in the walkthrough now, that of course I will repeat a bit now, but I was also trying to think about some other backstage elements. So basically, I'm from Rio, I'm from Brazil. My position at the Denver Art Museum is being, now I was just appointed like head of Department of Modern Contemporary Latin American Art, but I was since the beginning, since these 4 years I've been working there, I've been working with modern contemporary Latin American art. And I did a first group show there in 2022, if I'm not wrong, and then there was a possibility of doing a solo exhibition of a Latin American artist. And then at the same time, in 2021, actually, a big friend of Sandra, a Brazilian creator named Teresa de Arruda, that lives in Germany for already 4 decades, 3 decades, she organized a book with Sandra, wrote a text about her, and gave me this book in a dinner in Rio. I didn't know Sandra's work, but I only had the opportunity to see Sandra's work personally a few months later, I think 6 or 7 months later, when Sandra did the Venice Biennial in 22, that Chile Alemania created, The Milk of Dreams. But I'm telling all the story because it's very curious, because from that show in Venice, in the end, we from the Denver Art Museum acquired 2 works, one work by Sandra and another work by another artist called Roberto Hilde Montes that lived for a long time here in LA. And now I was like trying to do a certain type of like self-therapy, because when we did this Sandra show, we're doing Roberto with LACMA in 27, and there's a thing that connects then, and also that moment in my life, that is this migrant moment, right? Because I was waiting for my work visa to move to the US, and I was working with 2 artists that had this diasporic important element, their own biography and their own works also. So anyway, some therapy that I need to do this week. But then the idea of the show came after talking to Sandra. I realized that she still didn't have any survey exhibition first. I also realized that she was not very known here in the US. Of course, she's part of some collections, but she didn't participate in lots of group shows here, institutions, or things like this. And then the biggest shock was when I was finally, after acquiring this work, I was, anyway, spending some time in Portugal, so I was able to visit her in Berlin, and we spent 2 or 3 days together, and I was very in shock when I realized that she had stored works from all moments of her career, from the 80s, from the works in Venice, for example, to other works she was doing at that moment. And then, it became very clear there was really a nice possibility of doing a show together, and also became very clear that I needed to go back to Germany to study her work and to spend time with her. So I think that the whole genesis of the show, the whole process was basically, I don't know, opening a box of lots of different pieces of a puzzle, but at the same time knowing that it was not about like composing a concrete image of something, but learning from her works, photographing everything, and then together with her trying to think about some topics, some things that are constant in her production, and how an exhibition could show it. So since the beginning, the idea was never doing anything chronological. The idea was not separating by media. The idea, that's something that really interests me as a creator, was trying to do a zigzag. And then when we had a gallery designated at the Denver Art Museum, since it's such a big gallery and a gallery that has a very, like everything at the Libeskind building has a very strange structure at the Denver Art Museum. The gallery that you go like this, you go deep, then you return, then you come back again like a big U, let's say. Then we had this idea of splitting the show in 4 sections, tiling the sections after her works, and then, of course, having works from different periods in all these sections. So there's a first section that was called There's a Fire That Beats Within. There's lots of works that deal precisely with the volcanoes and the presence of fire in her practice. A second section called The Botanics of Evolution that has to do more with her interest in science, botanic drawing, etc. Our third section called The Thoughts that had to do more with her interest into playing between image and text. And a fourth section called Deep Waters that had more to do with her interest in different spiritual practices and religions. And then in the end, we realized that the show had this, fire, earth, air, and water all in one. So basically, as a genesis, I think that's it a bit. It was really nice to see the show traveling and seeing all these sections being a certain way imploded during the process, which I think is also healthy. And it was also really nice to see all these different, not only architectures, but also exhibition designs from institution to institution, right? Because from Denver, we went to Chile, to the Fine Arts Museum, a very big museum where weekends we have thousands of people going there, so we need to take care of some elements. Then we went to Buenos Aires, also a huge institution that has lots of visitors, but they have a tiny room, and now we're here. So it's really nice to see also how Sandra's work is elastic and can be folded in different ways, right? Yeah.
It's like its own leporello, its own accordion. And I think, all of those sections, all of those ideas we'll hopefully get into a little bit here. But as a starting point, Sandra, for you, and I think to ground people in the work, and you're seeing, we have some of those install images from the different venues too. So hopefully what Rafa's describing too of the different iterations, you can kind of see up there, and obviously here at ICA. But with, the show's title, Los Volcanes Despiertos, the Awake Volcanoes, it points to and alludes to the deep importance of land and of the earth and of fire in your work. And I was hoping that, Sandra, you could share about, how you see your relationship to land and to the volcano more specifically.
For time ago, there was people having some ideas about the energy of Himalaya was coming to the Americas, and they write some books and some literature. I don't know if they was theory or something was true in this, but if you go to Valle del Elqui in Chile, this is where some of the lama went there because they saw was the energy changing to one chain of mountain to another chain of mountain, and then this will make us be in the situation to awake our consciousness. I think it's not a secret key. It's something information is in the air for very long. And I think Mexico have been very blessed to be one of the first country know a lot about this. So we are in a time, this geographical situation have to do with our waking up. So very welcome to see the show and to fill in. It's a lot of mirrors, it's a lot of humor, it's a lot of part of my life, of my diary. This way this drawing have been made in these clouds, like ex-votos in the end, have been coming from the influence of having grown up in a very Catholic family, and I was the only one have not made confirmation. I went to Buddhism, and then I began to practice a lot of different religions and study very young Tai Chi, and I was practicing different meditations method, and also I have been very in contact with healing, different system of healing. First, I was with the metaphysics of Saint Germain, for example. This is so popular in Chile. You can find in the streets people selling these books. It's quite funny because everyone know about this in Chile. We are such a esoteric people in Chile, you cannot believe. And I think have to do with healing. So here is one of the members of Letelier family. So thank you for being here. We need to heal our past. We need to heal what was happening in our family and who was be part or not. One of the drawings they say, El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. We have lived the protest, so it was part of our body to put this and to pronounce as our not comfort with the situation, but also had to do with the word democracy. Democracy has so many faces, and we need to be tolerant. And sometimes we have made so many mistakes in the story. Don't be participative, and don't be. Everyone need to be part of the democracy. So this is a little bit a call for, in one part, to we have everything in us. when we have the dictator so long, we have been so, it's like electroshocking in our life. We didn't want to be participative because we was feeling, oh, we cannot be participative. Something is wrong to be in the protest. We was a little bit too much scared to be democratic. So
is this, Sandra, you're talking about when you were living in Chile in the 80s and 90s?
Exactly. And then one part of this, La Voz de un Pueblo que Lucha, is the voice of the people fight. And El Pueblo Unido Jamás Será Vencido is also part of this protest. And then you cannot close the eyes to this. When the people is demonstrating in Berlin, they are fast every week happening this. So, and I don't know if here it's happening this in this situation, what is going through this country, if the people go to the street and protest because a lot of not democratic issues are happening. So I think it's a lot of taboos we have also in my country, in sexual area also. We have been going very late out of the closet. So we have been very repressed, and so much like the system, the Catholic Church or the social classes have made this part. And I think I wanted, with my work, break free of this. And in the end, you can experience this when you see the exhibition. A lot of contradictory things. It's a lot of stories, or you can find secret. You can have a lot of keys to open these little windows of image. And I hope it's healing also for you, like have been for me to do all these years, this work.
I mean, something that you shared yesterday, Sandra, when we were talking about, like that question around the volcano and around, this relationship to land and seeing your work as this way of kind of engaging with a healing of the land as a way to also a way of healing oneself and healing each other. And I think that relationship to healing at multiple levels, be it literal, spiritual, and beyond, comes up across your entire practice. But because you brought up those works that, incorporate language in particular, and whether it's, language, recognizable language from protest chants to poetry to kind of absurd, stories that you write across, in your practice, there is something that you talked about with us in our conversation around the way that drawing and your connection to your work is a way of kind of reconciling with the kind of horrors of violence, or a way of like reconciling and healing from this, and how imagination and play and kind of dark humor are part of that healing process. So if you could share, Sandra, a little bit more about that relationship to language that comes up, and that certainly that kind of, there's a wall filled with works that kind of bring together text and image, but could you share a bit more about that relationship to language?
Always we are talking about to be in different languages, like you are a different person. Everyone would speak another language. You can feel this. You are in English and you are not the same person like in Spanish, or I speak Italian. And then these multiple possibilities we have is also different worlds we are. And it's, I feel we connect with the typography. Also, it's a lot of stories, they are coming together, and it's like bridges we are building through different cultures that are merging together. And we are this, and this is a country we learn so much from each other, and this is our cultural heritage. The things have been coming through our ancestors. Our grandmothers have been showing something, and you want to share with your friends. And this is something that's happened in my work. I want to share this experience. And I want to build these bridges through different belief systems, religious, mythologies, cultural, and jokes, because I love laughing.
You have us all laughing too throughout install, so that's an important thing. Was there something about that, Rafa, that you wanted to say?
No, I wanted to ask something that perhaps brings back to your first comment about the volcanoes. That I think is very clear in this show, but also is very clear after I started spending more time with you, not only personally, but mostly via WhatsApp, messages, emails, etc. That it is how important for you is the idea of traveling, not only because, of course, we have this life where I've been living in Germany for 3 decades and all of this, but also, I mean, I know lots of stuff about your life. I mean, this thing that when you were super young, you went to Brazil by yourself, this whole vitrine has the drawings of the volcanoes of landscape that you saw in Chile when you were super young. But then recently I've been to Japan, and you were sending me photos every day, and I had lots of ideas of new drawings after going to Japan. So I was wondering, now here also, you came, there was a weekend that you took a car, then you went to the beach, etc. So you like to have this relation, this physical relation, but certain idea of like landscape between big quote marks. And I feel that that also informs your practice in drawing. So if you could talk a bit about it.
I have experienced the 2000. I went to Big Sur and was my shadow in the cliff down, and was a round rainbow around. And someone told me, in Big Sur happen always some very special phenomena. And for me, it's impossible to forget this experience. And it's part of this work also, because you see the rainbows everywhere, so I can understand why it's the rainbow everywhere. And I think when you think also in the sun painting of Navajos, better to say Diné, because they don't like this name, because it was the name put it from the Spanish to them. You see there, this is the rainbows, and this is the different form, geometries, circles, rainbows, and they are all in the sun painting, these very defined colors, where they are elements, and this is alchemy also, and the ritual to make the mandalas have a sense, and this is the same what happened in the Tibet with the mandalas. For this reason, it's this experience I have is like a portal, because I was with 20 years already Buddhist, but then when I met this image of the Navajo, something happened to me, and I know in the 2004 was coming the first time the Diné people, the holy people, they took this, the meaning of Diné to California, and was the first time they saw the ocean. And they have pollen, and they have given this pollen to every wave coming. And I think this is so a wonderful image, and this have to do also with my creation. So I have been experiencing this connection. And when I was the 2000 in California, and yeah, I have been very lucky with the trips. When I went to Brazil, I was 17. I needed to ask my father to sign up because they wanted to get rid of me because I was so hyperactive. So he said, okay, I sign, go. So, and for me, having this experience opened me the eyes for so many things, and I am very thankful for this nature and all the present I have. It's a portal opening, and everyone can have this experience, open the eyes.
I feel like in so many ways, like that curiosity that you have to travel, but also to have these moments of encounter wherever you go. Like even, coming here for install and being like, I have to go back to Big Sur. I have to go back to this place. There's so many ways in which the work also like inspires that. Like it becomes, you talk about the windows with the keys. It becomes its own kind of portal for other people to enter into. And I think that's something that, your you're bringing together many different ideas, cosmologies, spiritualities, from like your Catholic upbringing to the Yoruba and Orishas, which come up explicitly in some of the works, to kind of creating a cosmology of your own. But it's a way that, like, I feel like people can enter in. Like, your work becomes this offering, becomes this portal for others who maybe haven't had those same encounters, which I find to be really special in doing that. But because you brought up pollen, and because there's something really unique for those that have seen Sandra's work, the drawings are actually dipped in beeswax, or soaked or brushed or rubbed. And that's really unique. And I think it's clear this connection with the natural world that comes up in subject and form within the work, but that's also a way in which, like, the natural world is actually, like, embedded into the work itself. And so I was hoping that you could share a little bit about your process, the technique for making these works.
I think this alchemy with the process is like I have been grown up in a place with bees also, and to be full in the material. I have been grown up a lot in the kitchen, to be honest. So I think I was so hyperactive, though they let me do a lot of experiments always. So I have built myself winter gardens. So I have been growing seeds. I think this typical experiment of the bean I have made more than 100 times, I think, because I was so obsessed looking the way the root is coming out and how this is in one moment a plant. So I was very curious like a kid, and when the school make to do this experiment, I really begin to do again and again and again. And the thing of this wax and all this is I have this alchemist in myself. Like everyone was like to cooking, and everyone we have a little alchemist in us to experiment and to learn things, or to learn. Oh, I love to learn to make sushi. I think I don't have any limit in my learning. I'm always learning, and I'm learning from each other, from you, from friends, from you. I think this is what I have been in our being together. We needed to learn something from each other, and this is the karma and the dharma. We are in this world to learn from each other. We come here to get the message. We are here, or we'll stop to be here if we don't have something to learn. You need to learn from your kids. You need to learn from a lot of situations we are going through. And then it's a question we need always to ask us. I need to learn time with you to go through all these exhibitions. And I'm very thankful. Thank you, Raphael.
So sweet. You know, they're just thinking about that. As you can see, you like ask Sandra a question, and it's like we go all over, and it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful way of thinking about, like, it's like storytelling that comes up in your work, but something that, you know, because you brought up the ways in which kind of these different spiritual traditions to inform your practice. I think religion, we all have a relationship to religion itself, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It's something we embrace, it's something we push against, and but there is this impulse to story the world, to understand like how we find meaning, how we find purpose, how we find value, and that very idea of like this mission to learn, and we are here to be in dialogue and communion with one another through the work. The work does that. The work invites that, and you invite that as an artist. And I think that's something that, you know, while we can find these different archetypes or, you know, religious kind of references, there's something beyond that that's about kind of our larger desire for understanding and to find meaning. And I think it's certainly at moments like this where with exhibitions that go into these different contexts, where you also, like, you're continuously learning from it. You know, it's like this other way in which I'm sure, you know, I only was fortunate to see the show in Denver, but there's a way in which now you see it, I see it anew. I see these works in a new conversation with each other, but also with the urgencies and realities of Los Angeles, with our connection to the Pacific Ocean, with our connection, literally, there's a work called Ring of Fire that's in the show. It's so beautiful, and it's like our geological connections to each other, to Chile, to other parts of the world through that. And something I know we really wanted to talk about was thinking about context and thinking about the different contexts in which your work has lived through this exhibition. And I'm curious, because the show in Chile was your first major presentation in your home country, of like, what was the reception like there, and how is that? Maybe Rafa, you can also share about the different contexts in which the work has lived.
I mean, no, it was super interesting. At the same time, it was also very, how can I say, anthropological, I would say, because of course, Sandra, she can talk about it if she wants, much better than I. She has a very tricky relationship with Chile. For example, I haven't done any project there before, so it was interesting to be there. But at the same time, I think that it was a curious case of an exhibition organized by an American museum, created by a Brazilian, by an artist that is now sometimes, depending on the lens, seen more as German than Chilean, right? So I think it was a whole mosaic of othernesses that was very interesting. But it was nice. The show there, I think, was very well welcomed. I think there was lots of curiosity because people know her work, of course, but unfortunately you didn't show her work lots of times recently in Chile, and it also didn't have a proper solo show in an institution there. And I think that doing the show there and comparing that to Argentina, for example, is totally different because, of course, Argentina, neither of us have had any close relationship with the country, and with Buenos Aires also. So I think that every station of the show, every venue of the show is a different trip, not only literally but also metaphorically. But I think that Chile was perhaps the strongest experience because of your relationship with there, and at the same time, as Sandra always says, it's not from Santiago, it's from Viña del Mar, so it's not like an artist from Santiago returning the capital. No, at the same time, the museum where we did the show is the first museum in the history of Chile, if I'm not wrong. So it was a very important institution there, and actually one of the first museums in Latin America, actually the Fine Arts Museum of Chile in Santiago. So it was was an honor to do the exhibition there at the Roberto Mata room. Also, the gallery is called Roberto Mata, right? So I need talk, my friend. You're the Chilean here. I'm just the Brazilian guy at your side.
Yeah, and then they give us this prize, the critic prize.
That's the best, yeah.
And it was for international show.
Yeah, the best international solo show in Chile. But look.
The best international.
Yeah, but not because the show came from Denver, because she's seen as an international artist also. Anyway, it's.
But it's a little bit funny to be Chilean and to have the best international show. Like, I'm not Chilean.
Meanwhile, though, then you'll also have this major show opening in Germany coming up too. So it's like an interesting, that opens next month.
And then in Germany, she'll be Chilean.
It shows you the performance of nationhood unfolding with you, Sandra.
Yes, the new show is in Haus der Kunst, München. And the name of the show is Soy Energía, I'm energy. So it's like a little bit a continuation of this. It's like the second capital of this. This is beginning with the energy, the volcanic energy of South America and the Americas. And then I can say Germany first big show I have a little show when I get a prize from the Academie de Kunst when I have the Katekolowitz prize, and this was a mini retrospective, and then it's something happened after the pandemic. Also, the Biennale of Venice, of course, with Cecilia Alemani, was like so massive, so many people interested. It was like, I was feeling it's like an ocean of people. I was totally intimidated. Luckily was coming Cecilia Vicuña to take care of me, otherwise I was thinking I will not be able to do it. I was totally overwhelming. And this make something happen in the world, like this is sensibility was total change, because people was like hungry to see art and to feel the healing of art. This was my perception. And I think we are very lucky. We survived all this, and yeah, we are able to be together here. You can imagine how was we have go through something, and we have learned from this situation with all the conspiracy theory effects and manipulation or not. We need to think about and have a big reflection of what is the essential thing in our life and prioritize things we have been put it off the side. And yeah, health is number one, and we need to work for be in a good shape when we are older. It's an issue for everyone. When you are young, you never think so much about this, but it's good we take responsibility of this kind of things. And yeah, like we say, to work together or to have a person in your life, if you are in a karma relation or you are in a healing relation, is something you need to ask you every time, what is affecting your life in this moment. I think life is complex. It's like we have in this life different life. It's not only one. Every time we come in a new phase of our life, we grow out. Every time to be with a person is to discover a new planet. This is my feeling. And yeah, thank you to be here. It's amazing to come have this dialogue, and I think everyone have some question, but I hope you enjoyed the show. And you want to say something, Raphael?
No.
And you want to say
I wanted
something?
to ask you something.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if
think
you're open for questions. I don't know.
I know that we're at our time, but we do want to open it up to questions for you, because we definitely did not get to talk about I have 3 pages of questions that we did not get to, but we didn't get to talk about everything, but we got to talk about the important things and what people here are meant to hear and what we're meant to hear in this moment. And I love that idea of, with every person you meet, it's like encountering a new planet, and I feel so grateful to be in your orbit, and yours, Raphael, a new planetary constellation made at ICALA. Amazing. But we'll open it up to some questions for you from the audience, and then hang out. Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
I'll ask a question. I'll kick it off. This is my job. Sandra, will you talk about what brought you to creating the more sculptural works? At what point did you start making the accordion pieces and thinking of the work in a more sculptural language? What happened in your life and in your practice that brought you there?
Yeah, the leporelos, I call them. Leporelos, it's this sculpture, it's like to be a major. I think like you talk about archetypes the other day, and then I say, I have never been a major, and I really wanted to be one. So the leporellos is coming from like nothing. You can fold it them and they disappear. And then it's a landscape, and it's a woman, and it's Mother Earth, and it's Pachamama. And I think this is the way to your imagination can create some body landscape. And yeah, this is, for me, it's a big relation with Pachamama. And then appear like first the mountains, and then the landscape is our body, or we are the landscape. And then I think 4 years ago, I have a big inspiration when I went to Carmel, and it was a little gallery, and it was this incredible photography of Ansel Adam. And then I say, what is this? I want a book. I don't know this guy, but I think this is amazing. And I think with some artists make you wake up. And this was like, thank you for asking me, but this was one, like this landscape or this sacred place in between the mountains. The way he find these places, for me, it was magic. And this was the 2000. I think he's a big master. You are very lucky to have this incredible photograph showing something else about the landscape. I think he was really find the right moment to make the click and waiting there and make a miracle photos. Like, it's something unique. And he had been a big inspiration also in my work. So
it's almost like seeing that made you see the landscape differently, so it pushed that relationship to your own two-dimensional landscapes. It was like, how can I change this? How can I invite a different way of looking, or looking again, in the same way that those photographs, I love it. The question was about sculpture, and you're like, I saw these photographs. And it just like, boom. Because it's true, it made you look at something differently. And that's what your sculptures do, is like they make you like look and look again. And your two-dimensional works do that too, but it's like this invitation into something else.
Come back to Diné Navajos, the cosmology of the Dinés also have the different mountains, like the Penitza. They have names. The cosmology of them was very a close cosmology. And if you can read, if you have keys for read the sun paintings, or if you go and you can read all the praise, you can understand so much about so different issues, like the stars, like it's a incredible world to go in these cosmologies. And this have been always inspiring me, because I met this when I was very young, and I was very obsessed about. And to find bibliography and find the stories really was a life change for me.
Hi. I want to ask you if the relationship between those travel pieces come from your experience to travel, and if you have in mind that this can become like a travel exhibition. And I see the light can change from natural place to a museum. And I'm impressed with your details, a little almost like a scientific card that they have this beautiful relationship between object and description. And I was wondering if you have this idea from the beginning to fold and bring with you and making easy to travel with, in one end. But in the meantime, I see that when you open your sculpture, it become also a different experience, because it become 3D and volume, and they have their own life and shape. I was just wondering about that, how you vision that.
I'm very playful. This has to do also with this movement in the work and in the paper. I'm always playing. It's part of me. I have my little girl playing all the time, and this make me have the possibilities to develop these different formats and move with the paper or wherever I have. So be playful.
Any final questions? One more? Yeah.
So I'm intrigued by when you were talking about democracy and sort of you brought up some ideas that had to do with your kind of former life in Chile, like the politics of being there, of leaving that country. And I'm wondering, like, and I see in your work also references to freedom and to democracy and to kind of like a liberation, you would say. But it intrigues me because, you know, maybe you can speak to this. Just what is it that attracts you? Because you also said something about democracy and about how we need to be sort of more gentle with each other. I don't think that's the word you used, but it was more about more forgiving in a way, and I think maybe that has plays a part in your work in terms of how that, you know, your relationship to the body, your relationship to a person just being here and now, being expressive. I don't know if I'm making any sense. But it just, I remember it caught my, you know, it grabbed my attention when we were saying that, because in one sense, the work itself is sort of outside of kind of politics and democracy and all those things. But on the other, I think, you know, there's something there, obviously, for you.
I want to say more than be participative. Don't annulate yourself. Give your opinion. Be active. Be honest. Show really, don't hide yourself. Show you really want to change something. I think this is, we have been so long in dictator, you cannot imagine. Nobody wants this. And the only way we can change this is to be participative.
I think that's a pretty strong note to end on. Yeah. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Raphael. Thank you all for being with us. Enjoy the shows.